Hi everyone, this is Gunataha and I am sharing with you my midterm project, which will be about morphemes and their types in English language. So the objectives of my session, the things that I will go over during this session are what is a morpheme, what are the different types of morphemes in English, how can we conduct some kind of morphological analysis of words in English, and the types of affixes in English, and I will finish it off with the differences between inflectional and derivational suffixes. So let's start off by saying what is morphology. As you know, linguistic is the scientific study of the language. So morphology is the branch of linguistics that tackles the analysis of the words. So if we need to know how a word or a lexical item is formed, we need to use morphology because we can dig into the internal structure of words and knowing where does it come from. So in this case, if we'd like to analyze the word morphology itself, we'll find out it consists of two main parts. The first one is morph, the second one is ology. And morph, it's a Latin word, means form or shape, while the suffix, the other part, which is ology, in this case, it is again occurring in many English words like psychology, like sociology, dermatology, phonology, and it means the science of and the study of something. But so the main focus of morphology is a word. So we need to know what is a word. Simple definition of a word is that it's a combination of sounds that is used to express an idea or denote something or even a relation or an attribute. And also one more thing that we should keep in mind when doing morphological analysis is to find the differences between words and morphemes. So we could say that a word contains a morpheme or more. So in this case, we could find out the semantic relationship between these two words in saying that a morpheme is just a subordinate of the word the lexical item word. So in this case, one word can include one or more morphemes. So let's go to the part is of what is a morpheme. There are many different definitions of the word morpheme. So here I'm going to use two of them. The first one provided by Mayer 2009, wherein a morpheme is defined as the minimal unit of meaning. So it's a group of sounds together and they can stand with meaning. So in this case, it's a kind of a smaller part of the word, but it contains some meaning in it. While Giorgio 2021 elaborated this definition by saying it's a minimal part of the word and that has a meaning or doing some grammatical function. So grammatical function can be a case, can be an aspect, can be some kind of number like singular plural, and we're gonna tap into this in a bit. So if we need to know what is a morpheme, so we need to know how can we identify a group of sounds as morpheme and what are the conditions we need to know that. So according to Stageberg 1981, we have three main conditions that once they are met, in this case, we could say we have a morpheme. So a morpheme is a word or a part of a word that has a meaning. So we have a meaning with this part of the word. And this part of the word cannot be divided as we said in the definition, this is the minimal part. We cannot divide it anymore. This is the smallest shape we can ever have of this. And lastly, we have this smallest number of sounds together have the same meaning in different verbal contexts. If we go back to the example we provided at the very beginning, we said ology, it means the study of. So if we analyze the word sociology, the word psychology, the word phonology, or even the word dermatology, again, the same meaning sticks with all of them. So ology, it means the study of or the science of. So let's give an example to make it clearer. So the word play, for example, it's a combination of four sounds. So we cannot divide it anymore. So if we imagine we can take out the sound P and we can keep the same meaning, no, the meaning would be totally different. So according to the three conditions we provided, a group of sound has a meaning, a part of the word, or even a word that has a meaning cannot be divided and it has the same meaning in different verbal contexts. So in this case, this is one morpheme. But if we go to this word, so it has two different morphemes. The first one is play, as we illustrated in the first example, while in the second part, which is ing, in this case, it is a grammatical function because it refers to some progressive aspect or even some nominal aspect if we use it as a gerund. So we could say that this includes one morphemes, while this has two different morphemes. So one way of differentiating between morphemes in English is to categorize morpheme into free versus bound. A free morpheme is one that can stand alone with the meaning. So for example, we have the word new, we have the word tower, each one of them include one free morpheme, while the bound morpheme is quite different from the free morpheme in that it has a meaning, but it cannot stand alone. Therefore, it must be attached to or even added to, annexed to another free morpheme to become a part of the word. So let's say, for example, we have the ing. The ing cannot stand alone in the word playing, so it must be added to the play in order to stand with that as a part of the word. And the same could be CA about the RE, the IST, the ED, and the S. One more thing that we need to keep in mind is that we have different types of affixes in English, and the word affixes is taken from Latin. It means to add, and fixed means a lexical item, so any addition to any lexical item or the face of the word. So affixes in English includes, it can be categorized into two different parts. The first one is prefixes, while the second one is suffixes. And even suffixes in English can be subcategorized into inflectional and derivational one. A prefix is a bound morpheme that is added before a base. Let's say, for example, this example, the word disagree. In this case, we have agree as a free morpheme, and then something is added, which is a bound morpheme, dis, which give the opposite meaning of the word agree. So in this case, it is a prefix because it's added before the free morpheme. So according to many sources, we have 75 prefixes in English. One of them is George Yule, who provided this, and Stageberg, 1981. And also we have suffixes, which are quite different from prefixes in that they are added after a base. So for example, we have here H or a fail, we have URE to get the meaning, to get the noun form, or noisy after noise, or even ED in a dream. So in this case, we could say that our lexical item could have one or more suffixes could be piled up. For example, we have the word norm, so we can add al to get the adjective form, ize to get a verb form, er to get a singular noun, and then we have s to get the plural noun. So as we said, suffixes can be categorized into two different forms. So we have, for example, inflectional suffixes and derivational suffixes. So inflectional suffixes in English, we have 9 of them, 3 with nouns, 4 with verbs, and 2 with adjectives. So the 3 with nouns are the S singular, the possessive S singular, the possessive S plural, and the plural S. While we have 4 of them with verbs, which are the S present simple singular. Then we have the ED past simple, then we have ED past participle, then we have present participle, then we have the ER, EST when it comes to adjectives. There are some differences between inflectional suffixes and derivational suffixes. First of all, inflectional suffixes do not change the part of speech. So if we have this word, which is cat, which is a noun, and we add it to it an inflectional suffix, we do not change its part of speech. The same could be said of the word call or even the word cough. This is an adjective, still it's an adjective after adding the ER, and this is a verb, and it doesn't change its part of speech. Another feature of the inflectional suffixes is that they come last in a word, they close off a word. We cannot add anything else after. So if we add ed to shorten, in this case, it's a verb and we cannot add s or something else. And they go with all the stem of the given part of speech. So for example, we can add s as a present simple singular pronoun or third person pronoun. As to with he, for exple, with eats, drinks, dreams, and motivate. One last thing about the inflectional suffixes is that they do not pile up. We cannot add two or more of them to any lexical item. Once we add one of them, that's it. So for example, let's say we have work. If we add ing, we cannot add s, we cannot add er or es, or let's say s, or let's say, for example, ed with the ing. This is unacceptable in English according to the English grammatical and morphological rules. However, we have just one exception, which is the s plural plus the possessive s, like in a words like students. So in this case, we have the s plural, and this is plural. Once we add the apostrophe, in this case, it includes some plural possessive s. While the derivational morphemes are quite different from the inflectional morphemes in different aspects. First of all, they are countless. We cannot count them. There are so many derivational suffixes in English. Secondly, they are arbitrary, so we do not have one fixed rule. For example, we cannot add to all the verbs to become nouns to ion, shun, because some verbs have, for example, ity, like identify, identity. Some other verbs nest, like happy, happiness. Some other verbs, in order to become some other lexical items to become nouns, need something like meant, or something like let's say, for example, ship, like friendship, or hood, like neighborhood, or even dom, like kingdom, and something like that. And also another feature of the derivational suffixes is that they definitely change the part of speech. So usually, once we add the derivational suffix, we change the part of speech. Let's say, for example, we have the example we provided earlier, achieve. In this case, achieve is a verb, but if we have meant, in this case, it becomes a noun. So adding the derivational suffix changes this part of speech. The same could be said of identify, the same could be said of happiness, the same could be said of a neighborhood, the same could be said, of course, of kingdom, and something like that. Finally, derivational suffixes do not close off a word, so we can add after them some inflectional suffixes. So for example, let's say we have the word play, we add er. In this case, the er is a derivational suffix, but if we add s after it, in this case, we could say we can add after a derivational suffix an inflectional one. So we could say that derivational suffixes do not close off a word because we can add an inflectional suffix after them. So this is a quick wrap up of my presentation. So I touched into what is a morpheme, what is a word, what is morphology, what is the difference between a free morpheme and a bound morpheme, and what are the types of affixes in English, and finally we differentiated between inflectional and derivational suffixes. So that's all I have. I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and I would love to hear about your feedback on the discussion board. And thank you so much.